Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever in the world you are connecting from. I know it's not Monday today, it's Tuesday, but we're going to have a conversation about why Mondays are great, but what that means more generally for people, for the work they do, for corporate culture, for organizations, for leaders. So we will have a great conversation with my guests today and their new book. Thank God it's Monday, TGIM. Um, by the way, I just realized that the TGIM is coming from the TGIF that everybody loves. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about why we should also be TGIMing, if you will. And I got really excited about the idea behind the book when both Melissa and Missy reached out to me, to connect and provide a quote up to the book and interview them in our LinkedIn Live today. I was really excited because this may not be true for all employees necessarily, but for entrepreneurs who have to build their own businesses, Mondays generally are a pretty good day because it's a day when you can talk to people, where you can sell your services, where you can, do the work. So Fridays generally have a little bit of a different meaning, right? So that's one of the reasons why I was very excited, because I've been an entrepreneur for many, many years. And I know that Monday carries a lot of scaries, for a lot of people. For entrepreneurs, generally is a new week for opportunities. But we will talk about all of that today with both Missy and Melissa. To those of you who are connecting online, in whatever channel you're connecting from, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please let us know where you're connecting from. We're reading you in the chat. Please let us know where you're connecting from. If you have any questions throughout this conversation, post it in the chat as well. I will try to bring them up to the attention of my guests. But without further ado, I'm going to bring both Melissa and Missy to the stage. Hello, hello, hello. Where are you? There you are. Good morning. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Thank you so much for having us, Enrique. I've been really, really excited to be connecting with you on this topic today.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Melissa, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. TGIT, and we're super excited to have these conversations with you today.
Wonderful. I have a lot of questions, but let me begin by asking you, first of all, how do you know each other? And second, how the heck do you connect with each other to write this book? One thing is knowing each other, and another thing is writing a book with such a topic like this one. So anything that you can share with us?
Well, maybe Melissa, if you want to share sort of like how we know each other, then I'll talk about how we connected.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had the pleasure of working under Missy at a couple different organizations, and Missy and I just immediately connected because we really had like a very similar outlook on life, on work, on finding meaning and purpose in life and work. And Missy is an absolutely incredible leader. She's the definition of a transformational leader. I mean, she sees people, she grows people, she champions people, and she's the kind of leader that you follow. And I did say that to her. When I did end up following her, I was like, Missy, you're the kind of leader that I would follow anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I've had the pleasure of working with her in a couple different capacities in a professional setting. And we, are also great friends, and we love each other's company. We love each other's perspectives, and I'll pitch it to Missy because that's kind of what led to this project of the book.
Yeah, Melissa's so kind, but Melissa's the superstar in the relationship. I mean, she gets it. She lives and breathes employee culture. She champions, people being the best versions of themselves. And so when you surround yourself with people that care deeply about culture, care deeply about people, and want to create environments where people say, thank God it's Monday, I get to work here, not I have to work here. So it's been a privilege being on the journey with Melissa. And, I've had this book in my head for about 20 years. It's been outlined and on paper. And I think it takes somebody to sort of challenge you and partner with you to say you can do it. Like, this is going to add value, and the words will make a difference out in the world. And so she really helped me overcome sort of being scared of being vulnerable and putting the book out there. So I could not think of a better person to partner with as we tell the story. Melissa really zhuzhed it, shined it, added her fingerprints and her sort of psychology lens to it, really brought it to life. And so the collab was really, really fun. And we're really excited about how it will potentially impact the world.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, and thank you both for being here, for sending me a copy of the book, which I am kicking myself on the teeth because I don't have it. I'm traveling and I don't have it here with me, so I miss it. Yeah, no, put it a little closer to the camera. There we go.
It's kind of blurry.
Yeah, we're trying to get the blur out. There we go. Well, we're gonna dive, soon into the actual conversation about the book. But the pink color that you chose, does that have any meaning, for the book, for the fact that you're talking about Monday culture, leadership? Does the pink color, bring anything special out of the book?
It actually does. I talk about it in the first chapter, and it started from something, pretty tragic. My sister passed away when I was 5 years old, and she was 3, and it was on her 3rd birthday, and she loved the color pink. And when I went with my parents, I got to help pick out her casket, this little tiny casket. It was white, and I got to pick out a pink color on the inside of it, and it sort of, that pink has just been representative to me, that reminds you that life is really short and we should embrace every moment of it. And I love the color pink for a lot of reasons, but it's a signature color, and you'll see me in it when I present on TGIM. It's a meaningful color to me. It wasn't quite that bright pink, but I brought the bright pink into the mix, and it's really a story about our brand, that it stands out, that it really hopefully ignites sort of, fun, enjoyment, and just sort of like life, right? That it breathes life in for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you just talked about the story of the pink, behind the book, and you said, life is too short, and this is a memory of sorts of that. But as you were writing this book and you talk to people, you hear from so many of them, wishing away, part of their lives, because they hate, not what Monday represents in itself, but the fact that that day brings them the Sunday scaries. It brings them, it puts them in a place that they don't want to be in, because they have to go to an office to a workplace that they don't like, etc. So that is the premise behind the book, right? Don't wish, a seventh of your life away. So can you expand a little bit on this idea of why Monday should have a different, perspective, a different way of looking at it, if you will?
Yeah, I think it really starts with, like, listen, I'm a big fan of Fridays as well, right? TGIF, like I'm a fan of every day. Right. But when you think about people exchanging 1/7 of their life for Mondays, and if you're wishing it away, or if you're wishing away your work week to get to the weekend, and you're sort of dreading what's coming up, you're just getting through it. And so for us, the question about, are you wishing away 1/7 of your life, sort of opens the book. We talk about it to create awareness. That when you realize that you're disconnected with much of your life, like I'm wishing to the weekend, wishing to the vacation, wishing until Christmas break, right? That it starts to really force this deeper reflection about, how do I want to spend my time, and how do I get to spend my time? And so it's really helping folks, really reclaim that 1/7 of your life can be meaningful. And if you're wishing it away, right, you're just wishing away life itself. And so do something that you're excited about, you're passionate about. If you're a leader, create environments where people want to show up and work for you and work with you. That really was like the whole sort of, premise of the book.
Yeah, I love it. Melissa, when you talk to people about Mondays, you will find, and I'm sure you have found people like me who think about Mondays as the dawn of new opportunities, and especially because I have to go out there and talk to people and sell the things that we do, right? So they don't work during the weekends, so I have to do it on Monday. But I also know that a lot of them don't want to do this. A lot of them have a completely different perspective of about Mondays, for multiple reasons. So when you tell somebody like, oh, you gotta love Monday, I mean, and obviously the underlying meaning of it, which is, don't wish away part of your life. What do they tell you, especially the ones that really are struggling with going back to that office that they hate right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Enrique. And it's something that I've seen so often with my own colleagues, with family, with friends, even myself experiencing that at different times throughout my career. Um, and what I found was that really seeps into, it doesn't just stay at work, it seeps into your home life, your relationships, your perspective on how you make decisions, how you engage and interface with the world, with others. And you kind of become a shell of who you could be. And so we wanted to open with that question because it really is a wake up call, and I think a lot of people have never really done that math, and they've kind of normalized that Sunday scary feeling. They've normalized that feeling of dread. Maybe they've even just accepted that like work is something that they have to survive versus something that they get to find meaning in and experience fully. But what I would say is you don't have to live that way, and the first step is really just recognizing that maybe you have been. So the reason we open with that question specifically is because it kind of creates like a pause. And like Missy said, it creates that awareness to help people stop and ask themselves like, wait, am I doing this? Am I wishing away my Mondays? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when real lasting change actually becomes possible.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing that you mentioned in the book, which I found so interesting because it fully aligns with the way I think about the life at work. You hear so many times some people say, and this has been true, by the way, across generations. It's not just that this generation is a little bit more different than before, but across generations you find business leaders saying things like, people don't want to work, people don't like to work. And all I think about is like, well, maybe they don't like to work for you, maybe they don't like the job that they do in your company, but it is work ultimately has been the expression of one's craft, right? It is the way you should find, it is a way in which you should find meaning, that you should be able to, develop the art of your own craft, whatever that is. But if you have to work a job that, it makes you miserable, that's actually what people hate. They don't hate Monday itself. They hate that they have to spend Monday working for an organization like yours. So what are the implications of this for leaders, for culture, for the work itself, etc.?
Yeah, for me, it's really about, folks want to contribute in ways that matter, right? And they want to do work that fulfills them and brings them joy, and you feel like you're contributing to something bigger. And so it really starts with organizations. People will come because of the name on the side of the building, right? Or the name of the company, but they stay for the leader that they work for. And so it is about, are you the leader you want to work for? Is sort of the first question. And two, as an employee, if I want to do work that matters, like I want to do something that adds value to the world, that adds value, that I get a spark when I get to do this. And so for folks that are like, I don't want to go to work, that's just kind of in general, that's sort of like, unless it's a means to an end, right? But while you're there, you want to be exchanging time for things that you do feel like you're contributing and adding value. So it's a responsibility of leaders to create environments. It's also a responsibility of the individual to be aware of what drives you, what motivates you, what are you good at, what does the world need, and how can you find that sweet spot that we talk about, that intersection of what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you can monetize, and really feel like you're showing up in a way that doesn't feel like work, like you get to do this. And so, the responsibility is on both leaders and employees to find that joy and fulfillment in what you do. And we aren't advocating that if you don't like your job, just quit it and, do something, look for something tomorrow. I'm a big advocate of try to find, happiness and joy where you're at. And if the company you work for has a great culture, great values, and you have a great leader, and you feel like you're not in the right role, then what could you be doing different, or what could you grow or expand, or how could you get that sort of happiness hygiene in your current company? Because the grass is not greener. Now, if you work for a company that the culture's not great, you don't have a great boss, like, then get out, right? But before you just quit your job, make sure you do this audit and look for the things that really matter to you, and what are those, and then align your values, align your purpose, and align what's going to fulfill you with that role that you're looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And it speaks very well. First of all, hacking HR, this community that I created and that connects us today, is in part the result of this, the result of me, on the one hand, feeling very worried about the gap between technology and HR, and this was almost 10 years ago, and second, being extremely bored in my job. And I knew some of my colleagues were bored as well, but I think they were wasting away valuable time that they could have used to do something more interesting, rather than, wasting the time. I myself, but I'm not the only one, many other people have done so, but I made the choice. I'm bored. I'm using, a small part of my talents, my time, doing, finding meaning, and doing something interesting. I need this job. I can't quit. I need to pay my bills, and I don't have anything else lined up right now. What else can I do, right at this moment? And that's how Hacking HR came to be. So all I'm saying, I know that it would be awesome to have cultures where you take advantage of people like me, who have the energy, the talent, the motivation to do something that delivers true value, and that they do so in the workplace. But we also know that most organizations are not like that. They don't even know what the motivation of their people are, but when they do, they don't even take advantage of that, right? So I do put a lot of responsibility on the individual, because you can't change on your own the corporate culture, but you can change the way you manage your time, your talents, your brilliance, your light, whatever you want to call it, right? So this is it's touching a fiber, by the way, because I just see other people saying, "Oh, I'm bored and I don't have anything to do," and they're just like in there, regressing in their careers because they are not staying update. And I'm just like, but you got to do something, because this company won't change because you're bored. I mean, it would be awesome, but it won't, right? So any further thoughts on this? I mean, this one touches a fiber in me, I guess. Melissa, you're muted, by the way. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to kind of expand on that, because Enrique, you talked about, the importance of individual contributors taking that ownership. Missy spoke to the leadership perspective. And I'd like to speak to kind of like the organizational perspective. And, it's beyond just one person's responsibility. It's really about creating a TGIM culture in organizations. And when organizations don't create a TGIM culture, there's a cost to that. They end up with teams who are disengaged, who are, showing up to their job, but they're checked out, in their head. They're bored. They're just, they're not it. People start watching the clock. They're dreading their Mondays. They're, bringing just enough energy to get by and get the job done, but not to actually thrive or derive any meaning. And the ripple effect of that on the organization is higher turnover, less creativity and innovation, a lot more burnout, and a culture where people maybe just feel like they're kind of just like a cog in the wheel instead of actual valuable contributors. And so in the absence of that sense of purpose and passion, you really lose like the magic that happens when people actually want to be there and enjoy the work that they're doing. So, from an organizational perspective, it's really the difference between a team that's just trying to survive the week and one that is genuinely looking forward to making an impact together.
Yeah, I love that, and as important as I know the culture component is and the leadership component is, and we know that the most significant variable in the equation of employee engagement, experience, retention, etc., is having good leaders. If you don't have good leaders, nothing else matters. They can break or make people and an organization. I just like the idea that you cover both in the book, that you put some responsibility on the individual, because it is just too easy to go to a workplace where you say, this sucks. I hate it in here. I don't want to be here. I'm going to wait until 5. But in the meantime, something's happening to you. It's not just that you're not delivering the value for your company. It's that you're not delivering the value for yourself either. And ultimately, that makes you less employable, less marketable, less knowledgeable. And that is, perhaps even more dangerous than you not investing in the value that your company is expecting you to deliver, right? So I don't know. I just think about my own career, and that really comes to mind, I guess.
I agree with you, Enrique. It's as much as the individual's responsibility as it is the company's responsibility. It's
Yeah.
like that mutual responsibility of I need to show up and can show up in a way that I'm invested and I'm engaged, and the company needs to meet you where you are. I think when you start to get bored, or you don't feel stretched, or you don't feel seen, or you don't, then that's where you have a responsibility to do something. It's not like the company owes you. Yes, they need to create an environment, and leaders should behave in a way that gets you excited and motivated and engaged. But you yourself need to show up with, I get to do this. I have an opportunity. I'm growing. I'm learning. And if you are bored, or if it's not the right role and you're not motivated anymore, then what can you do? Is it a side hustle that you start to explore, right? Is it getting engaged in hacking HR, getting engaged in forums that can reignite your fire for what you're doing versus just quitting your job? Right? Is it stretching and asking if I can work on stretch assignments or stretch projects or help out with something else? Because when you feel like it matters, that's where the magic is, to Melissa's point. And so we're always a big proponent of, don't just quit your job today if you're like, I hate Mondays, right? Like, really do this audit. And that's the beauty about the book, is each chapter has really like practical reflection questions as well as practical next steps to actually work through the process of really analyzing, am I in the right role? Am I in the right role now? Maybe in 2 or 3 or 5 years that looks different, and continue to evaluate that. But it's your responsibility as much as your company's.
Yeah, I love that. What is the responsibility of HR? What does HR have to do, if anything, in this conversation of making people say, "Thank God it's Monday"?
Yeah, I think HR's responsibility is to make sure you're hiring top talent and great leaders that provide the leadership. I think sometimes everybody relies on HR to create the culture. Like, HR needs to be in charge of engagement, and HR needs to be in charge of like how people feel. That's actually not true. I mean, HR's responsibility is to really, really find the talent and the leaders that can champion and bring to life the culture and the engagement. And so it is a leader responsibility, not an HR responsibility. HR can create the structures and the infrastructure to help set leaders up for success, but ultimately, really, it's the leaders that need to take, responsibility for it.
When leaders are thinking about engagement and experience, because ultimately, to say "Thank God it's Monday," you have to have the right culture, right? And when you have the right culture, then obviously you, by definition, you are going to have higher engagement, and you should be providing obviously a better employee experience to your people. So to have that, we need the right culture. So what do leaders get right? What do leaders get wrong when it comes to engagement?
Yeah, I think, where you are successful in engagement is ensuring that you're creating clarity for people. I mean, role clarity and responsibility clarity. Clarity in an organization and communication is huge, but it's also feedback and accountability. And I think people thrive on getting feedback and getting like, what am I doing well? And what could I continue to grow and get better at? And then also sort of this concept of like mentors and sponsors, people in your life that you can go to, I want to be like Enrique, and I want to grow, and I want to develop, and I want to do what he does. And so it's sort of modeling yourself after the people that you aspire to be, or the roles that you have. And so I think it's a combination of getting really clear on what am I expected to do, and how can I be super successful in that? And then receiving routine feedback and even asking for it. It's like, what can I do different or better to be a better leader for you?
Mm.
And as an employee, what can I do different or better to be a better employee? And this also works at home, right? I
Yeah.
always champion that, when I ask my husband is, we do this relationship check-in every month and we talk about
Me too, by the way.
we do, right? And I'm more, I'm more type A, so I like to have it on the calendar and he's more fluid. But I'm like, okay, today's relationship check-in day. And it's like, honey, is there anything I could do different or better to be a better spouse to you, a better partner to you? And by asking ourselves those questions and opening that feedback loop, we can really grow and excel and thrive. And it's mutual accountability between the leader and the employee to bring those types of things up. But that's a powerful question that we like to ask, and I think it helps set the stage for having a really meaningful and productive work experience.
Yeah, love that. One of the my most favorite books ever is Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I don't know if you're familiar with the book. It's phenomenal, very aligned. I mean, I think you gotta take a look at that because it's very aligned with some of the concepts that you cover in your book. But the bottom line is this, right? What he found, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who is a psychologist, psychoanalyst, researcher, what he found was that there are people who love what they do so much that when they are doing it, they enter into what is called a state of flow. And in a state of flow, what happens is that everything else disappears and you are just in that one thing. Nothing bothers you, nothing distracts you, nothing takes your attention away from that one thing because you are in that state of flow. He talked a lot about that, when he talked about athletes, but not just athletes. He developed the concept for some other people. And I love that book because I am wondering if we can create the kind of cultures that make people reach a state of flow, which ultimately, by the way, is very much connected with having fulfillment, meaning, a purpose in the workplace, and then doing the things that get you there that are so powerful, that make you be so focused, and find so much enjoyment in doing them. So all of this to ask you, do you think it's possible to create workplaces where people find activities that are so connected to what they want to do, that are so fulfilling to what they want to achieve in life, that they reach this state of like, I'm here and I love it. If I have to go earlier on Monday to my office to reach that state of flow, I'm gonna do it because I'm fulfilled. Do you think it's possible to build such kind of cultures?
Yeah, maybe over to Melissa for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the goal, right? And in the book, we talk about the sweet spot, which
Yes.
is where, three different things intersect. It's what you're good at, what you love doing, and what really creates value for others, right? So when those three are aligned, you get that flow state. Work stops feeling like it's work, right? But I think the thing is that a lot of people have never really been, prompted to even think about this. And so maybe, someone just fell into a career path or just got promoted and suddenly they're like years in kind of wondering like why they're feeling stuck or disengaged or, not deriving that passion, purpose, fulfillment. So in TGIM, we talk about the importance of really starting with that reflection, looking at what are you naturally good at? What are the things that come really easily to you? What energizes you? What are the things that get you into that flow state where you just kind of lose track of time? And where can that create value, within your team, within your organization, for your customers, your clients, right? And so when you can really look at that from a radically, self-aware and honest perspective, you can really see the gap between, where you are and where you could be. And that gap it's not meant to be discouraging. It's really meant to just shine that light of awareness and really give you a direction.
Yeah, I would maybe add just something brief to that, Enrique, is it's also about rapport and building a depth of connection that your people well enough to know what will be their flow, like what about them excites them and gets them engaged and will create that sense. And so you really need to get to know your team members, and not just on
Yeah.
the superficial sort of transactional level, but really on a level that you understand what drives them, motivates them, excites them. And that should be a reciprocal, process. It shouldn't be up to the leader just to say, hey, what drives you. It should be like, hey, this excites me and I would love to contribute to this. But I think there's this depth of connection as well that really ensures that you understand how and when you can get your people into that state of flow. And I haven't heard that book before, but I'm so excited to read it because it sounds like it's so aligned with,
Marvelous book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's a phenomenal book. I was just laughing. I remember talking about the sweet spot. I remember seeing this funny image where it's not like a Venn diagram. It's like a circle here that says the things that I love doing. The other circle here saying the things that I have to do, and the things that I actually do. Like they don't even touch any of the circles. They just go around them. And it feels that that's the way it works in the workplace. Very often,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure this has happened to both of you, but probably to most of our listeners too, when either you find a new job, that you are very excited about, and then you have the promise about what the job is for and about, and then you end up, no, yes, I know that every job has part of it that you have things that you have to do that you don't like doing, but you still have to do them because it's part of the job. But that part of it starts consuming more and more the time that you were supposed to originally have to do the things that you actually loved doing or that you were good at. Which again is a question that goes back to culture. It's a question that goes back to how do we define organizations so that I have the right people in the right place doing the right thing where I know they are phenomenal at, rather than just putting them in something that is just a box that is available, and I have to throw them in there. This requires like really deep organizational thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's the magic, right? Right people, right seats, doing the right work, things that bring them joy. And that alignment is really critical. And I think that's why talent and your emphasis on getting people in those right spots and people feeling like, oh, and I can pivot and I can stretch and I can grow and I can continue to evolve. But that really takes intentionality on the leader's part to make sure you didn't just take a job, show up, and then it's completely different than what you thought you signed up for. And that alignment is really, really critical.
Yeah. I wonder how, I don't know if this is a question about HR and if it's not about HR, I don't know who it would be about. But, we also have leaders whose responsibility is this, to create that level of culture, but they themselves hate coming to work on Monday. It's not that they are the embodiment of like, oh my gosh, look at that person, how much he or she loves Mondays, right? So what do you do in that case? What do you do when you have the leaders who are supposed to be, again, embodying this philosophy and motivating others and understanding them to create a TGIM culture, but they are not doing it themselves? Any insights about this?
Melissa, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think it's probably pretty prevalent out there. And I think it's kind of like the silent culture killer, really. Because when leaders are, dreading their own job, it seeps into everything. It seeps into their energy. It seeps into conversations, decisions. I always say, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, and if you have an empty cup, you certainly can't inspire TGIM when you're living TGIF yourself, wishing away 1/7 or 5/7 of your life. So, disengaged leaders tend to create disengaged teams because their people can feel what they feel, not just like they can tell beyond what they're saying. Sometimes it feels very performative, but there's not that energy behind it. So I think the solution is, or the next move would be, like, leaders have to do their own work first. They really need to find their why, reconnect to their purpose, find their own sweet spot, right? Or have the honest conversation about whether they themselves are in the right seat. Because you can't lead people to a place where you're not really willing to go and embody yourself.
Yeah. And I do feel like it's a responsibility of HR, right? One, HR needs to show up and be modeling it. So if you're in HR and you're not excited about Mondays, then you need to check yourself first. But then it's about holding up the mirror for leaders, and whether that's through a 360 or just candid conversations based on observation, or you go to the data and the metrics about retention or engagement or the things that matter, even driving business results. People will help you drive business results if they are, connected to the work and you're inspiring them to do that. But if you're a leader and you're not doing that, then you do need to look yourself in the mirror. HR should hold up the mirror if you can't see it yourself, and have that conversation about people are watching you.
Yeah.
This is your legacy. What are they saying about you at the dinner table? Are you the leader you want to work for? Like, all of those questions that we sort of pose is, if you're not showing up excited, how do you expect your team to do it? And so it's a powerful question. It's something we need to ask ourselves, because, every day you've got to show up. It's not just like, I get to turn it off today, right? Like, I'm not feeling it. You've got to. People are watching you, for sure.
Yeah, love that. And I'm going to use this question to wrap up our conversation. Is excitement in this context the same thing as engagement or as showing up? Like, would you say, I don't know, I just can't think about an example right now, but if I am still super engaged with my work and I show up on Monday and I am like, let's go get it, but maybe one day I'm not that excited for whatever reason, would you consider these three things to be the same, or, a balance of the three is what creates a TGIM culture?
Yeah, sure. I love that question. I think, from my perspective, I think they're not quite the same thing. I believe excitement is a feeling, it's energy, it's enthusiasm. It's like that zing that you get when you're doing something, really new or inspiring or that you love. But it is a feeling, and feelings are like waves. They come and go, right? And it's actually not realistic to expect yourself to sustain excitement every single day. And that's okay. Engagement, on the other hand, is a choice. And it's a choice to show up fully, to be present, to bring your best, even if that excitement isn't there that day. So engagement is really about, commitment to being the best that you can be at work. It's a commitment to your work, your team, the mission of the organization. Because it's TGIM isn't just about, false positivity or just like bouncing into work with jazz hands every Monday. It's really about, finding enough meaning and purpose that you really want to show up. You want to contribute and you want to grow, even on the days that may feel harder.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because yes, people go through phases, and sustaining one feeling, whatever that feeling is, by the way, it doesn't have to be just happiness. It can be any other feeling. Dwelling on it, it's not part of the positive human experience, right? Where we have to have all this rainbow of feelings, but it's the engagement, right? That ultimately matters to create a TGIM kind of culture. Miss Melissa, any last thought that you want to share with the community, particularly where they can find your book, your website, if you can share that, because we want them to go and get a copy of the book and help you and help all of us create these kinds of cultures that we have been describing.
Melissa, you want to go first?
Go ahead, Missy.
Okay, sure. Well, you can find our book. It's on Amazon, but it's also at a lot of retailers. So you can go to livetgim.com, which is our website, and there's all the retailers listed. So you can purchase it, wherever you'd like. We, really love that the book also focuses on beyond work to loving your life and loving Mondays. And so it's broken into sort of 3 parts. And it's also structured with a story. Then we go to the research, which is really important, that we have a lot of the foundational pieces on the why, and then the practical next steps and actions you can take. And so we champion and sort of ask people, like, the best way to read the book. I mean, you're more than welcome to read it cover to cover, but we like to sort of challenge folks to read it 14 Mondays to a TGIM life, because there's 14 chapters. And if you read it on a Sunday night or a Monday, and then work through it over the week and really think through how that shows up for you, it can be a really engaged process of sort of how you can generate engagement and fulfillment in your work, but then also in your life. And we go into things about health and wealth and happiness and the people you surround yourself with and the mentors and sponsors. And then the last we sort of close out with your legacy. What are you going to be known for? You're exchanging a day of your life for this. Is this how you want to be showing up? And so I think there's an opportunity, whether you're at the organizational level, leader level, or at the individual level, that you can benefit from going on the journey of really just discovering, are you excited? Are you engaged about your work, about your life? And ultimately, can you say, thank God it's Monday?
Awesome, Missy. Thank you. Melissa, any last thought from you?
Yeah, I mean, Missy nailed it. But, final thoughts would just be, the goal isn't to be perfect in this. It's just about having more intentionality, and just our goal is that you get to, take something from this book and hopefully wake up on Monday and, start to have a different perspective and know that your work matters, your growth matters, and you matter, and that it's worth fighting for.
Yeah, love that. Love it. It's giving, breathing more meaning in people's lives, knowing that there's always something interesting that can, help them, achieve a state of flow and have a culture where, they can get really excited and engaged about. So, Miss Melissa, thank you so much for the book, for writing all these amazing ideas and exercises. I know it's such a short amount of time to cover. Well, I'm glad that we didn't cover everything because we want people to buy the book too. So that we covered some of the top level insights, encouraging everybody to go and get your copy of the book and live and build a culture where we all can say, thank God it's Monday. So, Miss Melissa, thank you so much once again for being here, and everybody else tuning in. Thank you so much, and I will see you again in the next LinkedIn Live conversation that we have, which, by the way, this week is coming up on Friday. So, thank you so much, everybody. I will see you all soon. Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Melissa. You have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you,
Enrique.